Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Jupiter, sextile, or trine, one's natal Mars. Now, this transit can be about optimism, enthusiasm, exuberance, truth, veracity, joviality, and luck, being in harmony with one's vitality and energy, and I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. This is really having a good combination of having the enthusiasm to do things, of the physical nature, um, things that require physical strength, whether it might be doing something with construction or working out vigorously, whatever it might be. This is a time where you also have the drive and really, I would say, well, more of the optimism to accomplish things of a physical nature and have, or at least having the physical energy to do it at this time. And it's a time where you have, it's really just having that right, it's fortuitous for just having the energy just to do things. In general, it's more about having enthusiasm and exuberance for sexual related matters as well. And it's a time too when you have this transit. It's also a good time, I would say, for really just doing something that could be sports related. It could be having that energy just to do things that are outdoors, that are connected with the outdoors. I'd say this is an excellent transit, especially if you're somebody that's introverted to some degree. If you haven't been out for some time, this could be that time because Jupiter has a connection with sports and the outdoors. Mars as well can have a connection with enthusiasm, just like Jupiter, and it's also a time where where you could find out more, the truth, about Mars-related matters. If there's an anger issue, or if there's something connected with the sexual partner that you might be trying to find out, and things that are good and bad. Well, what it is too, when you have this transit as well, um, it's also a time just simply to have the enthusiasm and exuberance to do things that you have that drive and motivation for. If the natal Mars, say, is in Scorpio, it could be something with locksmithing or psychology or the occult, which includes astrology, or even it could be matters connected with transformation. Mars in Scorpio is, of course, it's in its dignity, and it would be a time, too, where you really have that optimism to do things that might even seem insurmountable to some other people. And the thing about this transit as well, it's about having really being able to incorporate humor, being jocular with sexual partners at this time. It can be a time as well where you may be more optimistic and enthusiastic regarding doing something connected with leadership. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have this transit and you become like a manager or supervisor, but it could even just be leading, just showing leadership prowess and ability, such as taking somebody under your wing, so to speak, at your place of business, and showing them how to do things, taking the initiative to show these people things. And it can be more fortuitous, for doing so at this time, more so than usual. And it's also lucky in terms of, I would say, matters that require courage. If something happens and you're trying to rescue somebody from a vehicle, some vehicles on fire or whatever, it's a time where it can be more auspicious, for you, and being able to act, on these matters at this time. Jupiter is the planet, of course, connected with luck and fortune, and it could even just be standing up for somebody. And it's a time where it could be more favorable for you and advantageous for you as far as the results go for doing so. Now, anatomically speaking, Mars is connected with the head, the skull, the face, and sexual organs. Now, when you have this transit, when I say Jupiter is the planet of optimism, but it's also exuberance and enthusiasm. It might be a time when you find, if you've been procrastinating for some time and you have any of these issues I described that are anatomically connected with Mars, this could be the time where it's more auspicious, maybe just to find out the truth about those matters at this time. And whether it might be good news, even if it's bad news, it's a time to get the truth. And getting to the truth of something allows you to do something about it quicker. And it can also be, and sometimes it may manifest in positive results that you might be waiting on if you do have any those issues I described that are anatomically connected with the planet Mars as well. And it's a time too where I would say as well, and also, I mean, Mars is connected with physical injuries in general. If you have your natal Mars, in the zodiac sign, Cancer as an example, there may be susceptibility to injuries to the chest, the breast, the stomach, the ribs. And it's a time where it's more, again, it can be something where it's more auspicious one way or another if there are any injuries or any issues with those matters. And it would be, could simply be recuperation might be going better, when you have this transit as well. And another thing too, it's also really very auspicious for taking the initiative, having enterprise and things in general. It could be doing something Jupiter related, whether it could be publishing or advertising or something associated with foreign travel or or sports. It can be also, and keep in mind, Mars is also associated with surgery. So what I stated about Mars as far as what's anatomically connected with it and the fact that Mars also has a connection with physical injuries, the same could apply for surgery. It could be more of an auspicious time to have surgery if you've been debating on getting it done, or you've been procrastinating or hesitating. This could be the time where it could be more fortuitous to have the right results and outcome. Or even if you're just setting up an appointment to get that, maybe that slot, that day that you would prefer to have it. It could also be a time too where it's also where you feel, more positive, more optimistic. If there's anything, that requires, confrontation, and doing so without having, the negative repercussions or ramifications, and doing so with certain exuberance and optimism as well. Mars is also connected with combat. If there's something where you have to defend yourself physically in any isolated case, the results I would say would be better at this time more so than usual. Remember that Jupiter is the planet of luck and fortune, and even if let's say this is also a time when you have this transit. Mars is associated with violence and volatility. So if you're trying to deal with something, that's a violent situation. If there's some contentious situation in your home, as an example, could be more of a positive time to be able to do something about it. Again, going back to Jupiter being connected with luck and fortune, and it's a time as well where maybe, just expressing, jocularity, humor can alleviate, the situation that might be, might be violent, or even if you're confronted with somebody out of the blue that appears to be that way, that is volatile or seems violent. This is a way where you might be able to have better opportunity to smooth something over through the expression of humor and being jocular. Now, another way this transit can manifest, it could be where you could be enthusiastic, which is Jupiter, about things that you have, the drive and motivation, which is Mars, to do. Let's say, for example, if the natal Mars is in the zodiac sign Cancer in the third house, it could be introverted and even occult, which is Cancer, communications, which is the third house. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now another thing too, this could also be a time where it's auspicious for getting the truth, which is Jupiter, about a sexual partner, which is Mars. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal Mars is in Pisces, it could be there might be some deceptive or duplicitous qualities, or the sexual partner, understanding that the person may be overly passive or gullible, as some examples. And it's also a time where you would be more likely to easily express humor, which is Jupiter, with little hesitation or procrastination, which Mars, because Mars is the planet associated with impatience. Let's say, for example, if transit Jupiter is in Libra, it could be humor connected with the law, or very refined humor, or jokes regarding relationships. Another thing too about this transit, it can indicate prosperity, which is Jupiter. It could be through leadership, which is Mars. Let's say, for example, if the natal Mars is in Sagittarius, it could be showing, some leadership qualities through. It could be printing, press operation, publishing, advertising, sports, as some examples, and also could be propitious for doing something sports related, which is Jupiter, that you have that enthusiasm for, which is Mars. Now, if the transit Jupiter is in Taurus, say as an example, it could be weightlifting, because that requires certain powers of endurance, or just long distance endurance running, as another example. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.